Ted.
Good there. Well, hello everybody, and happy Take Your Teddy Bear to Work Day. Yay, anybody take your teddy bear to work today? I worked from home today, so I did not. I would have, you did? Yes, all right. Okay, I had my teddy bear at home during work today, so. Anyway, originally my opening joke was going to be welcome to my TED Talk, because this is Ted. He doesn't normally dress like a vampire. He's dressed like this for a Booktoberfest that the Lawrence Public Library is doing. But I realized at some point that the fine folks at the Technology, Education, and Design lecture series are kind of notoriously litigious about protecting their brand, as they should be. So this is not a TED Talk. This is a TED Talk. Those of you who know me know that I've had this teddy bear who's becoming it's kind of semi-famous on Instagram and other places on the internet over the last 8 years or so. And and usually after a couple beers, people pull me aside and they go, "What's the deal with the bear?" And so when I realized that Take Your Teddy Bear to Work Day and Nerd Night and my birthday were all aligning, I reached out and said, I need to do my TED Talk. TED small e and D, not to be sued here. So a couple friends have said I'm actually interested to hear this, but is this nerdy? I mean, it's it's a teddy bear, and so I did find that there is a kind of scientific sounding name for teddy bear collecting, which is arctophile, a person who collects teddy bears. I've also heard ursophile, which is I don't know about ursophile so much, because then you've got the Latin prefix and the Greek suffix, whereas this is like a Greek prefix. Is that nerdy enough?
Works for polymer.
But actually, as hopefully I'll be able to explain through the process of this, really what's nerdy about Ted and his ilk is not so much middle-aged dude with a teddy bear. That's one thing, but the fact that there's a community, that Ted has found a community out there that have actually done some wonderful things, which I'll get to. Maybe for a parallel, if I'd sat at home and did puzzles, not so nerdy. I join a group of dissectologists, which is the kind of technical term for puzzle makers, then that to me is nerdy. So anyway, that's Nerd Night. So before I get to Ted, let me talk about Ted's forebears, pun intended. I don't know the name of the little blue bear over there. We'll call him Mr. Blue. I had dinner with my parents last night and meant to ask them. No idea what happened to Mr. Blue. Maybe Muffy ate it at some point. But more recently, and this is actually at least a couple decades ago, I have a history of having stuffed animals that I travel with, which Ted, you'll see, has had many adventures. This is decades ago in a hotel in Bangkok. I think they're playing cards and drinking whiskey. It's Taco and MacGyver, who's still, they're sort of retired. They're still hanging out, but they don't travel like they used to. So clearly I have a history of doing like fun things with stuffed animals while traveling, but they had the fortune of living in the days before Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. So Taco and MacGyver are not famous. So every superhero has an origin story. Ted, despite the cape here, Ted is not a superhero. He's just a teddy bear. I sometimes joke that I rescued him or I adopted him from the toy store. Really, I plunked down $40 and bought him at the toy store. He was a Christmas present for my then girlfriend, still good friend, who unfortunately is sick and home in Kansas City tonight, so couldn't be here. So he was just a teddy bear that was given as a Christmas present, 2014, so he'll be 10 next year. This quick plug, by the way, I think this lady's in the way here, but I think most of these are Jellycat brand, which I believe is made in China, but it's a good brand. He's almost 10 years old, has held up well through lots of adventures, so a little plug for Jellycat, by the way, and for the toy store around the corner here, which is obviously an awesome place. So Ted, I'm going to talk about Ted for a minute, but then I'm going to get to Ted's Ted's community, which is really where I'm going with this. Ted, for the first 6 months or so, was just a teddy bear. He sat on the shelf and just sort of, just did nothing. And as Amy and I were getting ready to go to San Francisco on vacation one time, we somehow got the idea of, what if we make this Ted's Big Adventure? And so literally hashtag Ted's Big Adventure. And partly that was because neither of us are the type to go and here's a selfie of us at the Golden Gate Bridge. That's just where, I don't know, that's not our generation or something. And of course, the only thing worse than a bad selfie is just to post a picture of like, here's just a plain old picture of the Golden Gate Bridge, yay. So we thought, wouldn't it be cute if we did things like, and so that's actually the first, on the left, that's the first picture I ever posted of Ted on my Facebook. And then, so there were a series of photos like this. We weren't thinking this through because it was just like a one-off kind of, tongue-in-cheek kind of thing to do, that we'll have Ted traveling around San Francisco. I've talked to several people who have similar little, teddy bears or whatever, stuffed something that they travel with and maybe do fun photos like this. That would be a nice photo without Ted, but that's just fun and pleasant. Also, put yourself in the time that this was. This was summer of 2015, so we're just a little over a year out from the 2016 election. Social media is maybe not the happiest place to be anymore. People are yelling at each other and stuff. And so suddenly as you're scrolling through, doom scrolling as we later would call it, suddenly you see this happy teddy bear and you just have this moment of kind of, hopefully a little bit of happiness. So we, like I say, we thought of this as like a one-off thing. We get back from our trip and so many people said, thank you for those pictures. That was so much fun. I enjoyed that. And so we proceeded to go on several more adventures. These are over the course of years, and obviously I won't go through every single one of these, but the most recent was Mississippi. We did a big road trip through the South. He's getting in the car tomorrow. We're going to Albuquerque for the eclipse, so you should follow him on the Instagram I'm about to get to. And so lots of fun. I took some slides out because I didn't want to spend too much time on Ted, but you can kind of see that he's got a variety of outfits and other fun things. So, and obviously this Dracula costume. He's the size of a small dog, or also American doll sized if you're because I have a job and don't get to travel all the time, we sometimes do little adventures where we're not going anywhere. This was the spring of 2016. Ted said, if that guy can run for president, so can I. So we sought out an escalator, which, unless I'm mistaken, there is no escalator in Lawrence, Kansas, so we had to drive to Ground Center for him to do his presidential announcement. So I had some fun with that, and got lots of like Ted for President swag and stuff like that. Of course, because he's kind of a towny bear, he's had to do the local popularity contest, whether he wants to or not. There's some cats he can't quite beat. This year he was 4th in social media animal, but #1 non-feline. So, and the voting happened while we were on that road trip in the South, so I also wasn't able to like promote a lot. So we went from 3rd last year to 4th this year. He doesn't care. It's kind of a side quest he did for a little while, and I loved that in the alternate comedy you mentioned both Weird Al and Mark Maron. This began with just running into Arlo Guthrie at the Eldridge Hotel. It was after we'd gone to an Arlo concert at Liberty Hall, and we went across the street for a drink afterwards. And Arlo walks in apparently to have dinner with some friends who live here in town. And I was like, well, I don't want to bother him. And somebody else went up and asked for a photo, and Amy was like, there's your in, go, go, go. So I went over. I was like, excuse me, Mr. Guthrie, can I get a picture? And so I learned very quickly that, I kind of didn't give I got used to just walking up to famous people and saying, hey, can I get a picture? Like Mark Maron, that was after a show. just we were leaving and he was leaving out through another door, and we just kind of almost literally bumped into him and was like, oh, so we got a picture with him. Kim Gordon was the tap room in the basement. This picture of Will here was originally that was I put that in there because it had been a picture of Andy Burowitz, the comedian, but it's a terrible picture because Andy was like, what's going on? So, which I realized that not everyone responds well to just walking up and shoving a bear in their face, basically. I think of these, the most recent, yeah. Oh no, I take that back. Actually, Henry Rollins was the most recent, but the pinnacle obviously is Weird Al, and it was kind of like, where does Ted go after Weird Al? So I mean, maybe if like I get a chance to get a picture with Obama, but so I've stopped going out of my way to try to get pictures with. Actually, when Keanu Reeves was in town recently, yeah, I know, yeah,
why didn't you get that?
Yeah, I thought about it because I was at home that day, and I was like, do I grab the beer and go downtown? And I was like, no. So I kind of, I'm not going to say I'm done taking pictures with. I mean, if the opportunity were right, but like we sought these out. The top two on the right were like paid VIP, to do the photo op afterwards and stuff. But like I say, it was sort of interesting to realize that I was fine just walking up to famous people and saying, hey, can you take a picture? Which leads me to reactions to Ted, that most people understand that he's just a happy thing, it's just me putting some positivity out into the world. And you don't need to read the whole thing, but there is a small percentage of people who have kind of a negative reaction. Nobody's had like a really angry or violent reaction, but people just sometimes, because it's incongruous, it's like, what is this teddy bear doing in a normal, human grown-up space? And I realized at some point that their negative reaction was not really even a negative reaction to me, not a negative reaction to him. He's just a teddy bear. He's just sitting here. But it's sort of a reflection of their own, where they're at in their head. And this quote here is just from I always thought of it as kind of apocryphal. Am I saying that right? But maybe not a real story, but back in the height of Haight-Ashbury, when the tourist buses would go through would go through the Haight, and the tourists would look at the hippies just hanging out on the sidewalk and just kind of gawk at them. And supposedly some hippies would like hold up a mirror as if to say, we're not the freaks, you're the freaks. And so that maybe not a perfect parallel, but that's often where I've thought, like, if you've got a problem with Ted, the problem's not with Ted. So, which, no offense to anybody if you're like, what's this guy going on about a table? I get it. It's all kind of fun and tongue in cheek. So finally brings me to his Instagram, and this is where we'll meet his friends. I started. Shout out to Kate, a friend who just over 5 years ago now, just kind of offhandedly said, Ted should have his own Instagram. And I was like, yes, he should. That's why I said that earlier about another hopefully new to be Instagram account. And so for whatever reason, I decided immediately I'm going to post once a day. And so for the last, this is 3 days old, for the last 1,894 days, I have posted once a day, which is the most consistent thing I have ever done in my life. And it's always something fun, like if it's take your teddy bear to work day, then I'll take Ted to work and get a picture of him, photocopying his butt on the photocopier or something like that. And like the other day, he was at the KU soccer game. That's actually an old photo that I recycled, and he's got his ratio technically is not great. If you're big into social media, I'm following more. He's following more than he's being followed by, and that was kind of an interesting realization I had at one point early on, because I was trying to get him followed just organically without paying for followers or paying for ads or anything like that, trying to get him followed by humans. And it mostly was other teddy bears that were following him. And I was like, thousands of them out there. And I was like, well, that's nice, but I'm trying to get, I think I was in a best of Lawrence mindset, which is not a healthy place to be. And so I was not following these teddy bears back for a while. And then I kind of had this aha moment when I realized, those aren't teddy bears, those are other people with their own friends who are out there doing the same fun kind of thing. Why am I being a jerk? So this is one of those, if you've never had one of those moments where you're like, I was kind of a jerk, then you're probably being a jerk all the time. So it's good to have that moment occasionally. So I started following them back, and there's all kinds of awesome, and this is where I'll finally get into the community. I have so many favorites. I picked three that basically were the first three that came to mind. One is Rondo the bear here, who with, I think that's Gabba on drums, and I don't know that the pig has a name, but they live with a professional musician in Oslo. And this is a worldwide thing too. Ted's got friends all over the world. And every Friday is hashtag Funky Pig Friday. And I look forward, we all look forward to Fridays, but I look forward to Funky Pig Friday because there's always some really good song. Anything from classical to heavy metal, they do all kinds of fun. And it's just cute and good. If you follow Eurovision at all, you wouldn't think anything could get cornier than Eurovision. You need to check out Plushie Vision, where they take Eurovision to the next step. This year's winner was Coco from France, who had a song about how Coco couldn't make boom boom, and a great video. Coco has a podcast too, but it's in French, so I don't listen to it. But speaking of podcasts, slightly dark turn. Sorry. There's The Power of Plushies, which is now defunct. I noticed that the last episode was in March 2022, so about a year and a half ago. But Humphrey, who obviously the human behind, I'm getting too close to that speaker, I think. The human behind Humphrey had a very traumatic event years ago and became extremely agoraphobic, and I won't go into details of what happened, but Humphrey was a therapy bear, where Ted's just a good time bear, and that's what a lot of his friends are. But I've found there's a lot out there who are therapy type of devices, for lack of a better word. And so Humphrey, for Humphrey's human or whatever term you want to use, served that purpose for this person in Ohio. And as I was getting ready to do this, I definitely wanted to mention Humphrey in the podcast. And I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't seen Humphrey post for a while. So I suddenly got concerned about Humphrey's owner or person, whatever. So I went and looked, and I realized that there were all these pictures where Humphrey had been in Australia, and I think the most recent maybe was they were at a football game in Las Vegas, and I realized, oh, this person does not have agoraphobia anymore. So this was literally the power of plushies, where somebody through their teddy bear got to a happy place. For me, Ted started at a happy place and has kind of stayed there. But so just some other great stuff the plushies have done. There's through a number of GoFundMes and auctions and stuff, we've raised a bunch of money. This awful painting of my cat over here that was I won a custom painting in an auction that was raising money to help people, or to help plushies who were either refugees or affected by the war in Ukraine. My cat's head is not shaped like that. It's such a terrible painting. I love it. But yeah, and there's a family here who helped a refugee, and all kinds of, and there's been a lot of different auctions and GoFundMes and stuff. So I know it's well over 50,000. I'm guessing probably close to 100,000 that the plushie community has raised. So this is, again, kind of the positive that can come out of just kind of putting your teddy bear out there for fun, and then it leads to other stuff and so much more. Like this book just came out I guess last month, I just got my copy the other day, and it's somebody literally with a similar kind of thing published a book about it and is having fun with it. So leave you with that quote if you can read it where it's at, but this is from a book called Teddy Bear Philosophy, which is it's several years old, but it's basically the same kind of thought, like teddy bears are fun. So any questions for me or for Ted?